Hey everybody, it's Matt Shue from Upright Health, and today I'm here with Josh Hash, and we're playing a little bit of the football, or soccer as they call it in the United States.
Why don't they call it feetball?
Feetball. Well, because you
Use
can only...
both feet, right?
No, you're actually only allowed to play soccer with one foot.
Oh, that's the part I don't get about that game.
Forgive me. Forgive him. He's an American, and he just doesn't know these things. So... today we are talking about a question that comes up a lot. It's, are you going to kick it or what? We're going to answer this question about stretching, and people ask this all the time. It's a really good question, and the question is stretching good for you? And so there's a bunch of research that says basically, recently that says, well, stretching's not that great for you. It doesn't do anything for you. It doesn't reduce your risk of injury. If you do it just before, do it just before your sport, it's going to reduce your performance level and things like that. So there's been this trend to say stretching, you really shouldn't bother doing it. It's not that good for you. It's not going to do anything for you. I totally disagree. I think Josh pretty much agrees with me, so we agree to disagree with the research. And the reason is this. First of all, a lot of the research that says stuff about stretching decreasing your ability to perform in your sport is done on elite level athletes, and it's done right before somebody is going to do their activities. So like sometimes it's like power lifters, right?
Yeah.
And somebody who's used to squatting hundreds of pounds, you make them do a static stretch for 2 minutes just before they do their 1 rep max.
Yeah.
Or
I think another one is a vertical jump, right?
Right.
Like you stretch and then just go right into a vertical jump. That's not very practical. It's not very realistic to your sport.
Right. And really it probably is a bad idea. It really does decrease your power output in that short period of time.
Yeah.
But there are other reasons why a normal person who is sitting in an office chair all day should consider stretching. Right, so there are reasons that even elite level athletes should probably consider stretching, and these are issues that are not measured well in the way research has been done so far. Right, so one of the reasons is actually just being able to achieve the positions that you need to achieve for your sport. So Josh used to play baseball, and he brought up this example, right? So there's a grounder, a ground ball, I think it's called. A grounder.
Grounder, yeah, that works.
Showing off some sports knowledge here. So if there's a grounder, Josh has to be able to hip hinge enough to get that ball. So what's the problem though if you're not flexible?
I'm gonna go here.
So if you guys can see the difference, right? If Josh doesn't have the mobility, the hip mobility, he doesn't have the hamstring flexibility, he's going to compensate, right? So ball comes in, he goes and rounds his spine, he keeps putting his lower back into this crappy position over and over and over again. That's eventually, very likely, going to cause him some issues, right? Another example that we were talking about, not because either of us has experience in this sport, was soccer or any other sport where you need to react quickly and be able to get out to the side like this. If you don't have this flexibility and you go out to do this, something is very likely to get hurt.
Something's going to give.
It's just going to, something's going to go. And that's not going to be fun, I guarantee that, because groin strains, which I have had many encounters with, are not good. As a goalie, if you're an ice hockey goalie or a roller hockey goalie, and you're going out into these positions, or you need to quickly get here, and you don't have the flexibility, something rips, and it's not comfortable. So I have been on crutches before from doing that. So those are the kinds of injuries that can either accumulate, like we're talking about with the grounders, and also the types of injuries that you can get if you just are not used to getting into that range of motion in an instant.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that, so the examples that we're talking about, a baseball player who plays from a very young age, he's in this position a lot. He is actively, if he's actively doing this position correctly, then he might not need to do a lot of hamstring stretching. But if you take someone who's been sitting at a desk for 10 years, and then he wants to go out and relive his high school glory days of being a shortstop, and he has hamstring stiffness, that's when we get this going, right? So yes, in an elite level athlete, they've been doing this their whole lives. Their body's familiar with getting in these positions. But for the average person like you or me,
he's not average.
we probably need some additional help with achieving these positions.
Right.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're sitting here like this all day, just clicking all these muscles, you're getting used to being here. Now you're going to go out and try to play baseball with your shoulders in a crappy position. You're going to try to go run a half marathon with your hips tucked under, or in big anterior tilt, or, you have no butt muscle, you have no strength in your legs, and you're going to go and attempt to do this thing. If you don't have the flexibility to just achieve the normal positions that you have to achieve, you're probably going to compensate, right? So,
yes.
Yeah, I think especially, my bias is always to think about hockey. If if you don't have the strength to maintain this position and stay low and skate around like this, a lot of guys end up like this and take the whole brunt of the game just into their lower back, right? So having the strength and then also the flexibility to let your hips out enough to do the right thing really make a big, big difference. So, if you just lack the basic flexibility to achieve your normal positions, you're probably going to hurt yourself.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So,
So stretching is a way that you can get your body back to those positions that you want to achieve.
Right.
And I think like the word stretch, sometimes it can mean different things, right? There's also, actively stretching the muscle, right? So the guy who plays baseball his whole life and is in this position a lot is, essentially stretching his hamstrings a lot of the time, right? And it's in a very practical manner. But then when we lose that flexibility, that's when you need to do more traditional type stretching to get it back.
Right. So like classically, like deadlifting for people here, when we get clients who are just brand new to do any kind of resistance training, and we try to get them to just be able to do a simple hip hinge, a lot of times for many guys, they just stop here. Right? And if this guy wants to go lift weights and try to do a deadlift, a lot of times he ends up here because his hamstrings stop him. So in that case, this is a good idea to do some stretching for the hamstrings. Yeah, almost definitely, because he can't achieve that first position that's going to let him effectively do the activity. So, that happens with pretty much anybody who hasn't been doing their activity for long periods of time. So if you're getting back into a sport or back into something, it's a really good idea to make sure you're able to do those things.
Yes, exactly.
So guys, the answer, is stretching good for you? Yeah, it is. If you're using it well, you're using it right, and you're doing it for the right reasons, it is. If you are trying to hit a 1 rep max or something, or you're trying to be, jumping over somebody, like doing a long static stretch just before, probably going to.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But, overall health, yeah, it definitely makes sense. So don't let people scare you away from stretching. There are some good reasons to do it. But there are also good reasons to strengthen too. So stretching alone is not, the only answer. But it's definitely part of the answer for a lot of people. So hopefully that answers some of your questions. If you like this video, remember to subscribe. And please remember that pain sucks.
Life shouldn't.
If you liked this video, we've got plenty more coming. Don't forget to subscribe.